I've been hinting at for a while. This is a bit of a collection video, sort of. This is a series of knockoff Masters of the Universe figures that was around in the mid-80s. They were manufactured by Remco. This is the Lost World of the Warlord line from Remco Toys. They were made specifically to, I guess, trick Grandma into buying a cheaper toy that looks like He-Man, or your mom to trick you into thinking you were getting a He-Man toy, or just, something cheap that you could buy a couple of instead of getting one of. This is the card back that he came on. I fixed you. Let's see. He came equipped with this sword that you can see here. That helmet does not come off. The wings on the very first one that I used to have when I was a kid actually popped out on pegs. These are glued in. If you took the wings off of his helmet, you could actually kind of stick the sword all the way through his head, which is kind of funny. This is based on a DC comic character. This character's name is Travis Morgan, and he is kind of like an Edgar Rice Burroughs type character in the center of the earth. He's a human character. He's got this cool vinyl cape that looks like an animal pelt. He does have a lot of discolorization on the trunks there. They should be nice and white, but they've yellowed, not from him being incontinent. It's just because he was in storage for a really long time. And so there's the card back. I got this at a toy show, I think in 1996, 97ish, and I paid $5 for it. And when I bought it, here's the card back. It shows you the illustrations of the characters there. You would see these ads for these guys in, comic books, DC Comics primarily. As you can see, there's the DC Bullet, and if you look a little closer there, it says $2.99 US dollars. Okay, so next is another character from this lineup. This is a guy named Nikola. I don't remember his full name. His last name is Nikola, and he was one of Travis Morgan's friends. He appears to be a villain. I don't know what happened in the story of the comics because I didn't read all of them. And here, I'm going to show you a turnaround of him. He's got fangs, if you can see. I think he's like a wolf man. And turn them all around. He's got some pretty cool detail on this vinyl tunic that is tied with a piece of like velvet fabric, velvet-ish fabric. And he's got the blue boots and blue trunks underneath there. And these were also kind of available as shirtless, and they came with horses. The horses were really cheap looking, but they're also, the horses are very hard to find. So here is his backer card. He has a specialized logo here with his own name on it and everything, and a very small Lost World of the Warlord logo. Complete with accessories. Collect them all. Plays with Warrior Beast, Sarge Team, Conan, and other 5 and a half-inch action figures. The item number, and then there's a wolf down there, and the card back. That one I also believe, yes, I got that one at the same toy show as that Warlord figure. This next one is Arek, Son of Thunder. He had his own comic book line from DC. He's basically like Turok kind of a rip-off of Turok, I think. He's got kind of like an Indian native motif to him. He's got this sort of tomahawkish axe, and he's got that belt there, and the tan pants and the darker boots, and the detailing on the gauntlets. Now, he also has this kind of a reddish pigment in his skin. If you look kind of close, that's racist. Oops, I farted. And he comes with a little place to stow his knife, which is pretty cool because a lot of these guys come with 2 accessories, and they can only hold one because one hand is open and the other one is designed to actually hold an accessory. And they turn at the head, you know, the neck moves, the arms move up and down, all the way around. The waist turns, and they have ball and socket joints on the legs instead of like rubber bands like the He-Man figures did. Yeah, I don't remember what I paid for that, but I did order this one off of eBay, and I was pretty happy to get that one. I actually got really out of control on eBay. This next one up is going to be Deimos, and he is the villain of the Warlord mythology. He has his scrolls of blood down here at the bottom of his card. And let's take a look at the figure real quick. Here he is. Really cool looking villain. He came with this crystal ball accessory that I always loved when I was a kid. I never did buy any of these on my own. Except for one of the warrior beasts, which I chose because he looked cool. I'll get to that later in a different video. So here is Deimos. Nice close-up of his villainous goatee and widow's peak hairdo and Dracula-type robes. This is a really cool design here on this vinyl. It's a vinyl piece that goes over his shoulders, and that's held into place by this I don't know what you would call it. It's like a sash that's tied in a knot, and it has a bunch of glittery material in it to make it shiny. So it looks cool. It matches the you know, the silver gauntlets and his boots, and his trunks are also silver. And again, this was also sold shirtless with a horse, because there were quite a few variations that exist. I forgot to mention a variation of this Arek figure. One of them that exists had different colors on his wristbands, and he didn't have this belt here. Instead of the belt, he had a like a fabric vest that went over his arms and just kind of hung there, you know, covered up his back and wrapped around and hung over the figure itself. It looked pretty cool. It didn't have anything tying it on. It just was just a plain vest, and it would it fit on him. It was red in color, and the wristbands, like I said, were totally different color. That one's very hard to track down. Probably one of the rarest of these human figure characters. This next character is a good guy from the Lost World of the Warlord comics. He is called, what is his name? I always called him Machiste, but there is an episode of Justice League Unlimited in which these characters actually appear. Not all of them, just Warlord and Deimos and this guy Machiste, as I called him. I'm used to calling him Machiste. They called him Machiste on the episode of Justice League Unlimited, which, if you haven't seen that whole series, it's season 2, episode 3, and that is on US Netflix. This figure is pretty cool. He's not able to hold or store this other axe accessory that he came with, but he can hold that little knife there that he's got. A lot of figures came with a lot. Well, excuse me, a lot of figures came with the same accessories. This one I did not get carded. I have not been able to find a carded sample of this at a reasonable price, so I just kind of ended up with a large lot of these figures that were loose, and I had two of him. One of them didn't have the sash or this gold thing that he's wearing with the Roman type belt on it. As you can see, pretty cool. I like this guy a lot. I don't really know anything about him. And next is the last of the human characters I'll be showing for this video. And that well, actually he's not a human, he's a god. It is Hercules. This is from the DC comic series Hercules Unbound, and he was kind of lumped in with all these Warlord figures, just like the Arek figure was lumped in with the Warlord guys, even though he had his own comic as well. So this figure is complete. He has a club. I kind of imagine, Hercules not being so poorly equipped, but whatever. It's got a good paint job on the wristbands. I like those. Goofy headband on the on his head. This gold rope sash thing it looks like it's never been removed. I passed on this one because it was loose, and I was at a toy show with a friend of mine, and he went over to the guy that was selling this when I wasn't looking, bought it, and stuck it in my jacket pocket when I wasn't paying attention. My jacket pocket was not, my jacket was not on my body at the time. It was hanging on the back of a chair because we did have a table at this toy show. And this was way back in like 95, I'd say. I started buying these very actively, probably around 92, 93. And that continued on very sporadically until about 99, 2000, at which point I kind of became completely hooked on eBay. And if there was like a Betty Ford clinic for eBay, I would have been a likely candidate for it. But anyway, yes, my friend gave me this. He went over and bought it and kind of surprised me with it. And I'm glad he did, because I haven't had a hard time finding this one carded, but these did increase in value, or there was an increase in interest, I should say, right around the time that I started really seeking them out. So I had a lot of competition, and a lot of the competition was the same people I would see bidding over and over on the same figures, I would encounter these people on eBay as, competing bidders. And I actually kept in touch with a couple of those guys for a little while. Even though we were like rivals in some ways, But yeah, this is Hercules from Hercules Unbound from DC Comics. All these basically are the same figure with different heads. This one is very badly discolored from just how old it is. You can see the difference in color of on his torso. The trunks should be not that dark either, else they should be more of a yellowish color and not this whatever it is that they've turned into. Anyway, some of these guys kind of look like the midget wrestlers, which is, funny because Remco will use these same body parts and styles for their wrestling line, which was an AWA wrestling toy line, which was those will fetch you a pretty penny if you happen to find those guys carded, especially the Matt Mania ones. And so there it is. That is Lost World of the Warlord line, with the exception of the one major variation on Arek, as I've mentioned. I have never seen one of those actually. someone saved an image from an eBay auction and sent it to me as in an email. And I no longer have the image, but I have seen other people that have confirmed that it exists. They have carded ones, and that particular one would go for probably, $200-300 now. I didn't pay anywhere near that for any of these guys, but maybe the most was like 40 bucks for maybe Deimos, I think. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I do like these figures a lot. I like reminiscing about them. I'm a big fan of Remco figures in general. Mainly the He-Man style ones, but I did buy a lot of like cheap Remco knockoff type toys when I was a kid. I only had a couple of these as a kid, the human ones. I had Warlord and Hercules, and my mother and father got those for me for Christmas one year, and I was not very grateful or gracious about it. In fact, you could say I was a brat. And I ended up melting both of them with a lighter that I pinched from my dad, and my parents cleaned up my room and ended up finding them and got really kind of pissed off at me for doing that, and I got into trouble. So anyway, long story short, these are awesome figures. They kind of cost a bit of money nowadays, but it's not... I was lucky to get them when I did, because now I would be shit out of luck. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. You guys take care and stay tuned, because I will be doing the Warrior Beasts figures next, and after that I think it's going to be the Conan line, and then whatever is left. So I might be putting those up all in order, or I might be spreading them out, so we'll see. Anyway, take care. Give you one more quick look at these guys. Not the highest quality plastic that you've ever seen in your life, but they've held up well over the years. I don't know if I can stand this one up. There we go. Yes, he's standing up on his own. Cool. Alright.